So what?
Also known as Gideon.
Also known as
Giddy.
Gideon.
I also say it's like Giddy, I'm Giddy.
No.
No, it's not like that.
So
Yes.
what can you tell us about your character?
I don't play.
He's
my
the
character
other
is
writer.
co-creator of the show.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I might give myself a character now.
Nobody got
but-
that on camera. I hope.
What can you tell us sort of about the conception of this thing?
Well, it started actually on a plane. I was heading back from Los Angeles to Israel, where I was born and raised, and I was sitting next to the head of Keshet Networking, our partners in this, and Avi Nir is his name, and he said to me, I always wanted to make a show about archaeology and Jerusalem. And I said, okay, let me think about it. I was born and raised in Jerusalem, and I love the city, and I immediately started researching possible conspiracies and possible characters, and that was the beginning of it. And very quickly I found out that there's a thing called legal attaché in every embassy around the world, American embassy. And these are really FBI agents that are investigating crimes against or committed by Americans on foreign soil. So I thought it could be really cool if our lead guy is an American FBI agent stationed in Jerusalem investigating a crime that will uncover a big conspiracy. That was the kernel, that was the beginning of this. And I play Emma.
I'm so embarrassed.
Don't be.
What a Tim, I'm sorry.
If I'm good looking enough to be an actor, that's a compliment.
So how did the conspiracy part of it come into play if you started with just this man?
Well, once you place a story in a city like Jerusalem, definitely in an archaeological setting, I mean, there are so many secrets hiding under the city. There are so many lost lives under the city. Only 5% of Jerusalem has been excavated, and yet it tells us so much about who we are. So imagine what's hiding underneath the 95% that hasn't been excavated yet. So we allowed ourselves to think that, and we wanted it to be more of a global conspiracy than just one murder.
When Tim came in and we got together with you to
Yes.
develop this, what changed from what your conception to what Tim kind of
Well, you know, the way Tim and I work is very... I've never had a more successful collaboration in my life. It's really, we just sit and we start talking about the stories, and the best idea wins, and it's just feeding each other off ideas. And the story we knew was going to have a center in Norway and a center in America and in Israel, and all these things are going to converge. And Tim, of course, is a genius in doing these multiple storytelling, things. And so it's been awesome.
Can you talk about the cast members that this show has been able to attract? I mean, some really big names.
Yes, and we have an amazing cast. We have Lauren Ambrose and Jason Isaacs and Anne Heche and Omar Motwali and a variety of amazing Israeli and Arab actors, and Alison Sudol and David Constable. A really amazing cast. The first person we thought when we started writing this, I kid you not, was Jason Isaacs. We told ourselves that we want him in this role because he has this combo of a mature leading man, FBI agent, hero, but also a lot of vulnerability. And his eyes are very soulful. And he has a bit of... Peter Connolly's character is dealing with personal trauma. He's dealing with grief and a lack of faith when it comes to Jerusalem. And we thought that Jason would be perfect for it. And a few weeks after Tim and I met and started writing the script, we went to an event at our agent's house, Rick Rosen, in Los Angeles, and we ran into Jason, and we came up to him and said, we're writing a project with you in mind. And he was like, yeah. And here we are, Jason Isaacs.
And what about Anne Heche?
Anne was, when her name first came up for Lynn, I thought, we're not going to be lucky enough, And we met with her, and she loved the script, and we absolutely adore what she brings to this role. She's kind of the opposite of Peter in the sense that he came to Jerusalem just to be away from home. But Lynn is the kind of person who that loves that kind of life. She immerses herself in different cultures, and she immediately learns the language. He's been in Israel for 6 months, and he hasn't learned a word. And the relationship between is a very grown-up relationship. They're having sex, but there's no talk about love. So it's a very grown-up show in general. They're very dark themes and very thrilling rides, but their relationship is a very interesting one.
So when I think of USA, like these characters walk on right is their tagline for USA, but a lot of the shows tend to have like light comedy
Absolutely.
aspect to it. So was there
was
some
talk about
notes from
that.
USA to say can you
No,
lighten
it's
it up?
actually, there was talk about that from the very beginning. I think what attracted them to this show is that it's a little different from what they're used to. They understand the darkness of this show and they embrace it. It looks different than other shows that you would see on the network. But Tim and I also think it was the perfect home for us because the minute you meet the people, it's not a brand. You meet the people and the way they talk about the show, the way they talked about supporting us and the creative vision of the show and how they saw the creative vision, it matched what we wanted to accomplish.
And Tim mentioned that you have now the impossible task of trying to replace Jerusalem
Yes,
as the location.
it's true.
So, are you leaving or?
Yeah, it's boring here.
Oh, hi. Okay, so I'll call you later. Hi. So,
Sorry about
what
that.
are you looking for exactly to mimic Jerusalem?
I know the city very well. The move out of Jerusalem because of the political situation was hard for us because we wanted to shoot the show in Jerusalem, and it brings scope and scale to the show that we weren't willing to compromise. We don't want it to suddenly be a bunch of interiors, so we decided very consciously to not change the script and to just find it in a different place. And we're going to go to ancient cities and find what we needed to find for Jerusalem. We'll find it and we won't compromise the show.
What do you think the heart of the show is going to be when it airs?
The heart?
Yeah, the absolute center, everything revolves around it, heart.
Well, I think for some it's going to be the thrilling ride. It's a thriller. It's a fun murder mystery thriller. But there are deeper themes about fanaticism and faith, lack thereof, and dealing with all of these things in a place that is extremely holy to so many people. And so many people are so passionate in this place, and yet our lead character lost his passion. So I think for some it'll be that, it'll be dealing with grief, and for some it will just be a fun archaeological film.
Someone said that this is like a Jewish Da Vinci Code.
A Jewish Da Vinci Code?
A little bit. I read it someplace.
That's funny. No, it's not actually. It's
No
not.
similarities in terms of the storyline.
Well, it's a religious conspiracy, and it's archaeology. So of course people are going to compare it to the Da Vinci Code. And by the way, it's a very flattering comparison. But our show is different, and you'll see.
Can you talk about some of the transmedia tie-ins that are already happening for the show?
You mean like the Wattpad and all
And
those?
the Dig Deeper hashtag and all that good stuff.
We've collaborated with this new app called Wattpad, which is extremely exciting. It's for people who want to hear more about the show and to dig deeper into the characters. We have a 12-part prequel, which will explain what Peter is doing in Jerusalem and a previous crime that he's solving in Jerusalem. We also have this Dig Deeper thing, which is a scavenger hunt that people can follow clues all over. And we have Dig Decoded, which will allow a lot more clues and extra bonus material for diehard fans.
And will a lot of that stuff end up on the DVD? Or
I'm assuming so. Okay, cool. Anything else? That's it? You're bored with me?
no?
Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff in the past where people are so fanatic about just history and archaeology. What would you say would be a favorable comparison in terms of your characters and famous characters and famous shows? Like, would you say, oh, this is there's a hint of Indiana Jones, a hint of this, a hint of that kind of thing?
If we do our job correctly, then next year someone will say it's like Dig. It's like indie in the sense that it takes place in the archaeological world, and that we're suckers for that fun, excavation thing. And yet, it's darker. It's a lot darker, and it's grown up, and it's a real thriller and a real exploration was really important for us in the room, was to go very deep into the character exploration and not just plot. So we had a room of writers that know how to move a story very quickly and very aggressively, and yet care more about what is the character feeling at this point, and let's explore that. So I think it'll have both of those things.
It sounds absolutely fantastic.
I hope so. Thank you.
If you are to do a sequel to Dig in another location, would you try to get some people involved who know the other cities as well as you know Jerusalem?
Yes, of course. You know, a big part of our job was research and being credible, and a lot of elements that we're dealing with in the show are real and come from real life. And you know, you'll see stuff like red heifer and different symbols that people will be able to Google and see that actually, oh my God, this is actually happening. So when we go to a different location, definitely we're going to immerse ourselves in the research of that place and bring experts.
Has USA talked to you about what success means for them in terms of giving you the opportunity to do another one?
Not really, not specifically. You know, I think it has to do with them watching the pilot once we're done editing it and looking at it, and of course airing it and seeing how the audience reacts to it. And then I think it boils down to also a gut feeling, and if they're passionate enough.
Do you enjoy the 6-episode thing rather than?
You know, I do. There's something about it. I think viewing has changed. You know, when I go and see House of Cards over one weekend, it's a novelistic experience, and not just in the viewing of it, but also in the telling of it. You don't need all the exposition of explaining what happened last week, because people most likely are going to see the 6 episodes together. So it's more of a novelistic, deep freedom to tell a story.
Do you prefer that method?
Yeah, and the Israelis, by the way, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Europe has been doing it. The Americans are a little slow to come to the...
So you prefer that way of viewing a show? It's basically just one shot, like...
Well, I think binge viewing. A lot of people are binge viewing now, and they don't want to wait the week between episode to episode. Some live shows you have to, but right now, the way I watch shows, the truth is, because I'm so busy, my DVR is on, and then suddenly I have a few hours, and I can watch 5 Good Wives together. So what, you know? So it's the way I think, the way people are going to watch television.
Stuff have changed.
But your show is still coming out in 6 weeks every season.
Yes.
I think last week.
It is. But I believe that's going to change too.
Do you think networks are going to start like
I
over
think
the
so. They're
years,
going to have to
go
reinvent
into, like,
themselves.
a
Yes,
Netflix type of-
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is frustrating. It really is.
It is.
The show is like previously on.
Yeah, and then the actors have to, just like I told you before, it's
Reiterate the same points over and over.
the audience is getting more sophisticated, technology is getting more sophisticated, and people are getting less patient. So I think the networks are going to have to reinvent themselves.
But as a writer, that's got to be fulfilling because you get to tell a story.
It
without
is.
saying, "What am I doing in episode 18?"
Absolutely. Absolutely. The story dies when the story dies. You don't have to think about a franchise necessarily. You don't have to think about syndication. You can just say, just like we do in Europe and Israel, you can tell the network, I have story for 13 episodes, but that's it. And they're like,
Yeah.
let's tell a story in 13 episodes.
We work in 22. Could you
Right.
come up and stretch that out?
How involved are you in season 4 of Homeland?
Not involved at all.
Not at all.
No.
So it's
But I hear it's-
Alex Gonzo and stuff?
I hear it's really good.
Yeah, we saw some pieces last
I read some stuff. It's good.
Hypothetically, if something like the world of Fahrenheit 451 were to come to being, where you can directly interact as a viewer with the entertainment around you, would you see Dig as an interactive experience that would benefit from that type of technology?
Yes. Yes, it would be cool. It really would.
You think Dig would make a good video game?
Yeah, we'd make well, first of all, a video game in tunnels that are 3,000 years old under a holy city is pretty exciting, right? And finding these sacred pawns and secret artifacts, and it could be really cool.
Red heifers.
Red heifers, sacrificial, you know. Yes, I think it could be a good game. I'd play it.
It had a very video game look at the TCA reel last week. Very
wow.
cool.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.